Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, episode 105, Black Hammer, Secret Origins. And hi, it's me, Ross, and I'm joined by Kirby, and we're going to talk about the first 6 issues of Black Hammer. A Jeff Lemire, Dean Ormston, and Dave Stewart comic that I fell in love with when I think Pat at Velocity said, "You're going to like this," and gave me the first issue, and it turned me into a Jeff Lemire fan. And I've been talking about it on the show for a while. So, say hi, Kirby.
Hi, Russ. Thanks for bringing me in for another session of Ross Recommends, Kirby Caves In.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just talk about a little bit about what this book is. It's one of those meta reinterpretation. Is it really a reinterpretation of the superhero genre? And I saw some discord on Reddit. I Googled something and saw what people thought, and it's up and down. Some people are like, well, it's been done, blah, 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 blah. But I think there is something about Lemire's storytelling type that I like, that is very in it, because the characters are very full and rich, but they are still superhero ones. But it's kind of like what happens to a bunch of heroes after a big event where they are all killed, but they're not really dead. And this title first came out, pulling up my notes, come on, screen. Originally came out in 2016. Damn, this thing is 8 years old. Well, they've done it, but there's a bunch of it. It's become its own little universe, it's well received because it's been produced in like 9 different types of formats. I would love those oversized library editions. They look amazing. You're reading it with the omnibuses, right?
Yeah, I'm reading the omnibuses, which has the first 6 issues, then 7 through 12, and then the annual. So yeah, it's a nice sized book.
Yeah, it is, and that's basically I like Dark Horse's omnibuses, they're like basically 2 trades glued together, but it works. So Pat at Velocity gave me the first issue, and I've bought every issue of Black Hammer, everything ever since. But it really struck me as it being like that Astro City. Incredibles, what someone brought up in the Reddit, is a good example. You could also say Savage Dragon, which is a love letter to Marvel, a certain era of Marvel in a lot of ways. But this one's a little different. The choice of analogs is what I like. It's a mixed bag.
Exactly. I think that's when I kind of heard it was an analog thing. Even though I like Jeff Lemire a lot. Hearing that was an analog thing without knowing the details kind of put me off, because I'm like, even in 2016, I'm so done with Big 7, Justice League stand-ins, The Boys, Invincible. Even though I like Invincible, it's like it's shorthand a lot of the time, but here it serves a purpose. It's more, like I said, it's more Astro City. I think I said Astro City by way of the Coen brothers, which I don't know is a perfect example, but...
No, I got that. It could be a little Tim Burton in it, too.
Yeah.
It depends on what series you're reading, because I've read... they've done a war comic, The Black Hammer's 45, which is they do a lot, but for a while it was just these 6 characters. And this 6-issue miniseries basically focuses on each one of them one at a time, while still having an ongoing arc and plot for everybody, like you're watching episodic TV. It is one of these things, and what struck me about it, I just finished reading the first full volume of Cullen Bunn's Sixth Gun, which I really feel like I was reading. When I was reading it, I could see that as a supernatural Buffy kind of TV show, like a Western horror show. It reads like it really, and I mean that in a good way. Like, there's so much stuff going on in each issue that I don't feel like I'm cheated in each if I'd been buying it in issue form. But this one is it's a little it's different. Let's before we get into issue 1, let's kind of just let's talk about the first issue, and then we'll talk, because that's going to have all 6 of them in it, doesn't it? Or does Madam Butterfly? You have Madam Butterfly.
I think she's in there. Yep.
Or Madam Dragonfly, which is a great name. When I was rereading it, I was like, no one copyrighted that. No one thought of that name at another comic company before 2016. That's a perfect comic book name.
Yeah, sometimes you just luck you just luck right into things.
Because some of these ones, to give them different names, they're stretching it.
I like the character, but Slam, that one's a little stretch.
Yeah, it is. So hold on, let me pull up my. All right. Issue 1. Well, let me ask you something real quick before we go deeper. I want to first, I've talked about Jeff Lemire on the podcast a great deal. I know you're a fan of it. What did you think of Dean Ormston's art?
So I looked, and I guess I had read him before in the Vertigo Sandman, but it's Dark Horse art. It looked like if Hellboy just kind of walked on to the page, I would be like, yeah, nope, that makes total sense. He's able to, really evoke the mood and jumping back and forth throughout this entire, run of like kind of the more realistic middle of nowhere town, and then doing like huge epic Kirby riffs, and it never feels jarring. Like it's never going from John Buscema to Todd Knock back and forth. It feels cohesive.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like his characters. I like the characters he designed for the main 6. So the first issue is called Welcome to Black Hammer. And it focuses on the first hero, Abraham Slemowski, whose superhero name is, which is one of the weird ones.
Abraham Slam.
Abraham Slam. He's basically, what is he an analog of? Let's think about. I think he's an analog of 3 people.
Okay, I was gonna say like 95% Captain America with like 5% Wildcat.
Mm-hmm. And
so who's the
I
third
think
you were
it's
thinking of?
The comedian, because I think he's using that costume as the comedian.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at there's a who's who in the back. These like who's who entries, like it was a DC who's who for all of them.
And yeah, that is the Sandman / like that is pretty much the comedian's look. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's just a fighter. He's just super trained fighter, and he's good. We were having, what celebrity does he look like?
Because he looks, there was something where I'm just reading through it and I'm going, he's supposed to look like someone, and I could not think of it. And you had suggested to me George C. Scott with a little Nick Offerman. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. You put them and have them have a transporter accident, and that's what Abraham Slam looks like.
Yeah. So the 6 heroes, let's go through all of them. Then there is Gail Gibbons, who is the Gail the Golden Girl, who is a Mary Marvel, Captain Marvel analog, because she is the main member of that, the Golden Gale. But there's a little twist to this. When she's given the power, she's a little kid. So whenever she says the magic word Zephram, she turns back into a little girl. The superhero version of doesn't age. And now that we're there, so that plays up. I'm going to go through all of them. What did you think of her character?
I really like her throughout kind of this run, even when she is kind of just being a little shit in a very tense scene that we'll get to later on in this. But you understand 100% why she acts. She's acting
everything
out.
Is justified.
Like 100%.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of trauma going on in this book. And this first 6 issues really doesn't do anything except to tell us how bad the trauma is. And saves it for the next arc. So that's gold. Next is Talkie. Well, let's skip Talkie. I'm reading this list of. There's Mark Mars, who is Barb Alien, who is a Martian Manhunter analog. I like him a lot, and we learn more and more about him throughout the series. He's a great character, and it's a neat design.
Yeah, I think honestly he might be my flip a coin on who's my favorite, but he's on one of the two sides, and I like that in the Who's Who. He's kind of got a I think he says John Buscema riff on him, and so 99% John Jones. If you're gonna rip from the Justice League, rip from the best one.
Yeah, I like that he's the closest to any of the Justice League in this. And then there is Colonel Randall Weird, or Colonel Weird, who is a mix of
Adam Strange, definitely.
Captain Comet.
Okay, yeah.
His costume is almost basically it's Captain Comet's costume.
Yeah, he's got the white X across, which always makes me go Adam Strange, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
those two.
And a little bit of Captain Marvel.
Okay.
With the cosmic stuff. There's a lot more of the cosmic with that. So, and a little Doctor Strange.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the Parademon, there's a lot of that. How about it's Jim Starlin doing Captain Atom and Adam Strange, which was why he never did. That's a perfect idea. Next, and he has a sidekick, Talkie Walkie, who is a giant 50s style robot with a cathode. What is that? Is that just a tube? It's supposed to look like a tube?
Yeah, I always just took it as like, yeah, just that, like kind of a lighthouse light. Kind of what
I was thinking, kind of like like in the back of our old TV sets, the picture, the small tubes or the whatever they were.
Cathode tube?
Cathode tubes, yeah. Because I'm old enough to remember somebody coming in, opening up the back of our TV and swapping them out. So he's pretty cool. I like him. I like Talkie Walkie. One, it's a great name. It's very Golden Age. Then there is Madame Dragonfly, who is
every
House of Secrets, House of Mystery, every one of them. A little Madame Xanadu.
Yep.
A little bit of Man-Thing, Swamp Thing, that they're the guardian of something. And then there is a definite Swamp Thing, Man-Thing riff in her issue when we get to know about her. So there are starting six, because you got things that are from all over the spectrum. You've got a Shazam, an analog. You got a Captain America Wildcat analog. You've got the horror book analog. You've got the Alien from outer space superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the side. You got a robot sidekick. So you got everything. Oh, and you've got you got the space hero. So it's a good mix. So basically, let me hold on and get that. See, back to my other notes, so I can give a synopsis of this sucker that I found from their wiki. Once they were heroes, but that age has long since passed, banished from existence by a multiversal crisis. The old champions of Spiral City, Abraham Slam, Golden Gale, Colonel Weird, Madame Dragonfly, and Barbarian, now lead simple lives in a timeless farming town. Even as they try to find their way home, Trouble has a unique way of finding the heroes wherever they are. So I like that this starts with Slam just talking about stuff. When I read it, I was like, okay, what's going on? And you don't really know what any of it until I'm flipping pages. It is just the characters introducing themselves to each other and the little bits of their life. And throughout the whole issue, until we get to the anniversary, it's not until the last 4 pages we know what happened.
Right. Because even though the cover to issue 1, which has like the classic Justice League shield, even without that, we don't know exactly what these people, like who these people really are, or where they're from. But we know they're trapped basically like in a purgatory. or something to that effect.
Yeah, and you don't know if it's real or not. They're trapped. They're trapped in an episode of The Twilight Zone where you know, you can only go to the edge of the village. But when you get to it, you find out what it is Black Hammer, who is the Superman, Thor analog for this universe, and where we get the title, Black Hammer, has recruited them to stop the anti-god?
Yeah, the anti-god, who's every Jack Kirby giant villain rolled into one.
Yeah, and Spiral City is Tim Burton's version of Opal City meets Gotham City. And we find out that he recruited them all, and everybody thinks they're all dead. And we've not seen Black Hammer, but we know it's been 10 years when we get to. We'll have seen them at this place in the woods by their farmhouse. This hammer that none of them can pick, that they're just not touching. So I'm assuming they can't pick it. You don't know yet, and there you see that the main hero, Black Hammer, it was his weapon, and that there's a young woman who works for the Global Planet. I like that. Name of the newspaper is her dad. She's typing this article. You see these hands. You see her. You see the flashback, which is beautiful 4-panel Kirby homage. It's freaking gorgeous. And she says, and she's talked about all the heroes. I'll read what's on that page. They were the greatest heroes of a lost age. Abraham Slam, the original two-fisted crime buster. Golden Gale, America's superpower sweetheart. Barbalian, the warlord from Mars, and Colonel Weird, swashbuckling space hero. And my dad, Joseph Weber, the Black Hammer, hero of the streets. There is no story I won't chase down, not when I believe in it. And I tell you this, dear readers of Spiral City, I believe more than anything that they are still alive, and I believe they're still out there somewhere. And no matter what, I'm going to find them. And that's the end of the first issue. That we don't get it until there. But what did you think of how we were introduced to the characters?
This was like, for a superhero story like this is the best way to introduce them. We're just slowly giving them out. We're given, I think everyone gets a panel of like their classic superhero adventures. Then it cuts back to the real world, and we're not given everything, but we clearly know that something's happened, it's building up, and this is we're not given large dumps of exposition.
No, we're given
hints.
Well, but this is what I really like about this, and Kurt Busiek had a thread on Twitter a couple months ago about what makes a team book work and why he liked the Avengers, because it had the action, but it also had the water cooler kind of conversations. What was going on in the background? And I like that. I listened to a podcast called Untitled Star Trek, and Nathan Bottomley is one of the hosts. He says that what works for Star Trek is when you have when they're just hanging out stuff, where you get to see who the characters are. That what makes a better episode in some ways, because in any medium where you're using characters in like a comic book or TV show, you're limited to what you can do with their personality, or sometimes they don't even give them. I mean, there are comics that are just action and there's no real comp except he's the noble one, he's the prim and proper one, he's this, there, that, she's that. But we get the relationships through conversation and pretty art. I mean, the art is telling the story, but it's like these conversations between these 6 characters give you some semblance of who they are, what their relationships to each individual is, and what's their interconnection. So when we get into the second issue, you know who that Abraham's the older guy. He's like, for some reason, he's more comfortable in here. Why are Gale and Barbalian, feeling such like, why are they why are they these big outsiders? Feel like they're always going to be on the outside, that this is not a good fit. This place is not good for them because they can't be themselves. Colonel Weird is weird. Talkie is just trying to get him out of there. And you also get to meet what are the sheriff and his wife?
Yeah, and his ex-wife, the ex-wife who's now dating
Tammy
Abraham
Tierhart and Sheriff
and
Sheriff Tierhart, who runs the diner, who Abe's in love with. So we don't know we know their superhero names at the end. We get a general idea that they've been there 10 years, and some of them are like Abe is accepting it that they may never get out. Colonel Weird is just crazy and he can drift in and out between there and the paradimension. And Madam Dragonfly is holding a secret.
Yeah, she's the big enigma.
Yeah, her and you find out as you go along that her and Colonel Weird are the really only ones that know what's going on. And for good reason. For good reason, which comes up more in the next volume and then volumes after that. I like that format. I thought Slam was great. I really like Slam. I love the conversations between Gale and Barbalian. What was some of your favorite parts of this?
I also really like the bits between Barbalian and Gale. I also kind of really do like just the Colonel Weird and Talkie Walkie. I gotta always keep that name straight in my head, or it's just gonna immediately flip. And just because, at this point, Colonel Weird has just become like Matthew McConaughey in that first season of True Detective, where he is just strung out through whatever that Cthulian crap he's seen out in space, as we'll get more and more details of. So
yeah, because I think even in flashbacks you only see him rational and sane in very short bursts.
Yeah,
you never really see it, and he's always kind of like talking like a 50s movie star version of a space explorer. So let's go to issue 6, and what I liked is I'm in my trade. You get the original, you get the publication cover, and on the back you get the variant, which is the cover of the trade, and I think of the Omni. That's the cover of issue 1, but the Justice League homage, that's the variant. What I like is we get to the second one. I'm looking at the cover on mine. I don't know if this. Doesn't have any of the art. It just has the art. Doesn't have the titles. Yeah. It's a giant robot staring down on Golden Gale.
Yep.
That's by Dean Ormston, and I want to comment on. I'm a fan of Jeff Lemire's art. I think it suits certain projects, and I like that he did all the variant covers, and he's done this variant. He's doing 2 variant covers for his Justice Society issues 1 and 2, which is amazing, and I want a print of it. It's so cool. But I like his Golden Gale. It looks like an old 40s comic that's got a coffee stain on it. It's old and wood,
It's been folded in half at some point.
Yeah, it's got a big crease on it. But we get her origin in this, and we got Slams. We don't really get Slams in the first one.
No, not in the first one.
We get his later. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like Danger Street Wood. Each issue is basically one of the characters. But we get to see her origin. It's not a train station. It's a movie house where she gets a ticket and she meets the wizard, Zaphram. And he dies by giving all her power. And that's the opening first 5 pages. And then we cut to Gale and Abram waiting for the school bus. She's got a mask. We still think she's a 9-year-old little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little kid. But she got a foul mouth. She smokes and she drinks gin. It's like this. I love it. They're waiting. Well, time to cheer up. Your ride is here. That's Abraham. And she going, why the fuck do I have to do this again? This is ridiculous, Abraham. We go through this every year, Gale. You need to blend in. So you need to go to school like every other 9-year-old in town. But I'm not 9 years old. I'm 55. And you smell like gin. Have you already started? How else am I going to get through this fucking charade? I love Gale.
Oh, God.
If I was 53 and stuck in the body of a 9-year-old and have to go through 2nd grade over and over and over and over again, I would kill somebody.
Yeah, no. I think my personal hell is if you made me go through 8th grade again. But yeah, no, I could not do it. could not do it. And so she's having to redo like second grade again and again. So I'm guessing Madame Dragonfly has to wipe everyone's memories on this.
Yeah, they have to change their memories of Gale every time. And that's why she doesn't want to do it later on when she has to come and do it, because Gale just basically starts cussing at the principal again. But Talkie Walkie has built another thing to shoot out into space. They're going to shoot it past the force field or whatever's holding them in there. They think they're trapped on Earth somewhere.
Right, but this could be an alternate dimension.
Yeah.
It could be 1,000 different things. And if you've been here for 10 years, I'm surprised this is only like the 6th probe. Now, granted, it's probably taken him a while with what he has to work with to launch these things. But God, that'd be every day.
Oh yeah. So he's the only one trying to get out, and but they're all like Barbalian and Gale. They don't know what to do, because they're just, they've had no success. They get the probe off and it doesn't work. And then we got Colonel Weird and Madame Dragonfly having a conversation, which when I read it on the reread, knowing what happened, it still read well. Like we're given hints.
Mm-hmm.
That her house has too many rooms, and that, that, like Dragonfly says, I'm worried about you, Madame Dragonfly. I'm worried about everything we have may be in danger. You don't seem fine. You seem distant. And it's like she's protecting herself because she's holding this whole, she's holding something together. You don't know what it is.
Yeah. And even then, like, even in these like 2 pages, you can tell she's not happy with how things have turned, like where she is either. But she's coping with it in her own way.
Yeah, she's doing what she has to. And then we get another like page and a quarter flash, like little Golden Gale thing where she's battling Sherlock Frankenstein's giant robot.
Fantastic name.
It is and I like how he looks one way in these, but when she sees him as what they're like at the end of her career as a superhero, he doesn't look so cartoony, evil, splotchy bad guy. But we find out that as she's growing older in her real identity, but when she says the magic word, she becomes a child again. And that's when the principal catches her smoking a cigarette in the ladies' room, sitting on the toilet bowl. Then we cut to the farm where Walkie Talkie has to come out and go, Abraham, phone for you at school again. Gale's in trouble. And all Abe can say is shit. And then that's where we get this scene where the principal's, basically saying what Gale's doing. It's all the shit. She's in 4th grade, sorry. And she's just acting like an ass. And Gale's just making it worse. So Gale's mother shows up, and it's Madame Dragonfly, and she erases the memory of everybody's memory of everything, but also makes this principal think that Gale's a sweet little kid. And Gale, as they're walking out into the rain, goes, "This is completely ridiculous. I'm done with this bullshit." It's what I hadn't caught last time was this thing between Gale and Madame Dragonfly. But before I talk about, what did you think of that bit?
Oh God! Like I just having so many friends who are elementary and middle school teachers, I actually really do feel sympathetic for the principal in this.
Yeah, my sister's a 2nd grade special needs teacher. I can imagine meeting kids like this that aren't superheroes stuck in a child's body, or just mean kids that smoke and drink already. But yeah, it just sounds horrible. Imagine 4th grade over and over. She's done the 4th grade 10 years, and she's a 50-year-old she has the mind of a 50-year-old.
Yeah, it's like, I know, because there's not even a way you could even, like, I would have to challenge myself to see how low I could, like, just get by, just to entertain myself or something. And that's without the drinking, the smoking that I would have to do just to get by.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love what Gail says to Madame Dred, because she's tired of having to erase people's memories. She's tired of, and um, she's just tired of it. She dismisses Abe's thing about they're going to be seen, because she goes, not unless I want them to. They won't see me. And then Gail goes, I can't decide what's more humiliating, having to go to the fourth grade again, or being talked down to by that old prude in there, or having to pretend this hag is my actual mother. And I love Madame Dragonfly's rebirth. If I really had given birth to a spawn like you, Gail, I would have killed myself a long time ago. Next time you're on your own.
God. Because, that can't be fun for her either. For the 5,000th time she's had to pull this shit.
Yeah, and Abe tells her, and she goes, good riddance, and Abe says, Gail, would you please shut the hell up and get in the truck? And then we get in there, and she feels remorse. And it's not fake remorse. She's just, you see Dean Ormston, there's a great panel of her face where, I'm just she just looks beat down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sorry, Abe. Yeah. You just can feel, somehow that 55-year-old voice comes out of the 9-year-old's mouth, and that came out wrong. You get what I'm going for.
Yeah, it's and I like it. And then we get to see her. We get another perfect comic book page where we see her as, in her 20s saving somebody, and then she's in her 40s saving somebody, and then she's in her 50s and she's aging, but Golden Gale isn't. Except Golden Gale, I think, has in the 70s. Oh no, that's not an afro. It's just shadowed face. I was thinking they gave her some kind of weird thing, and
one thing I really do like here is that she talks about she hated that Golden Gale persona wasn't getting older, but by the time she was getting in her 50s, it's it's nice to kind of step back for a little bit and enjoy the youth, just here and there.
Yeah.
But when she's stuck in it for 10 years, it's everything we've said.
Yeah, and it cuts back to the ceremony, or when they were standing around the barn. She talks about how it's a goddamn curse. She used to be able to just change. So she starts screaming the magic word and nothing happens. And she breaks down, and she starts crying. He consoles her, and he tells her it's going to be okay. And he goes, what are we going to do, Abe? He goes, you got any of that gin left? You think we're ever going to get out of this place, Abe? I don't know, Gail. And then we get to see the satellite has popped into the normal universe. It is about to crash on
Earth. Again, this just whole issue is all of it's so well paced. We get just enough of Gail's backstory, but we're not losing anything with the current goings on in the town either.
Yeah, which I like. But that's more with them. We're going to get more into town with the next issue. And look, it's a superhero comic book technically, right? We're 2 issues in. Every fight scene's been in a background and been only a panel or two, and I'm loving that because it's still just about the characters. So for issue 3, Ormston gives us this great Martian. It's barb alien floating over the surface. There's a skeleton of a human astronaut with a decaying bot corpse head in it, and a 50s rocket ship, and then the Jeff Lemire cover is Barb Alien just killing monsters. It looks like an old pope. No, you know what it looks like? It looks like a pirate comic almost.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's got that banner. Yeah, but it's pretty cool, and it's got Madame Dragonfly on it, and a ghastly tale from the Cabin of Horrors, which is what she is. So Barb Alien in issue 1 goes and meets the new priest. Now he's going to church. Mm-hmm. And you're getting that thing that he likes the priest in a romantic way.
Yeah.
And then we get a flashback where it looks like a Wally Wood EC comic, or Dave Gibbons drew the spaceship that crashed into Mars, where there's a dead astronaut, human astronaut, who's laying dead on the surface, and his spaceship is crashed, and there are 3 aliens. Is it 3? No, it's just 2. It's just
2.
No, there's 3.
It's 3. It's 3.
It's the high priest, or who's ever in charge, another guy in charge, and Barb Alien, and they're saying there's something different about Barb Alien we don't know yet. but that they kind of ostracized. But to get him to go away, they send him on a reconnaissance mission to Earth.
And I do like that Lemire, who's got a lot of horror roots. He writes it so that one of the Martians just rips the head off of the dead astronaut.
Yeah, and they say take it back as a peace offering.
Yep. Then we're back to him in church, and he
is fixated on the priest.
And you get the clearly homophobic, racist, everything. Sheriff just like, oh, I know exactly what that guy's thinking.
Yeah, Sheriff Terror's a turd. He's pretty much a turd. Then we cut to Abe and Maggie are post-coital having a conversation about their relationship, and that just that they're a couple. I forgot how talky this comic is, and it's not talking a bad way. It's just like you're watching the drama. You're watching the drama unfold.
Yep. No. This is more like HBO talk than it is just needless exposition or anything like that. Because Maggie keeps talking like, "I want to meet your family," and Abe's given the kind of the very lame excuse of my family's weird, it's complicated. I'm like, yeah, and this is brought up later on throughout. But it's like, yeah, dude, everyone's family comes with huge baggage.
Yeah,
Barbalian being a Martian is kind of the least of it.
Yeah, and I like it that the sheriff confronts him. Sheriff doesn't like any of them. He doesn't like the strangers. He thinks they're all weird. Then we cut back. We get Barbalian's origin. He comes in a rocket. He crash lands in the ocean, outside of, in the bay, I guess, wherever, the river at Spiral City. He comes out. He watches a cop be killed. He stops the bad guys and takes the cop's form. And then we just get to see his career in flashback. He makes a pass at one of his partners who tells him to get out of the car and drives away.
Mm-hmm. Like his brief superhero where he's fighting the Metal Minotaur, which I love. That, to me, again, I know I'm coming back to this a lot, but that looks like that should be in a Hellboy comic.
Yeah, it does. It also looks like an Astro City villain, too.
Yep.
I could see Brent Anderson drawing that. But we get to see him, and he's, he and Gail are back up on the roof talking about everything and what's going on. And this is kind of where she's upset because she just wants someone to love her, and he only loves her as a friend.
Yep.
Because he's not shared. I mean, doesn't even tell her why here.
No, he doesn't. I don't know. I figure at this point, after 10 years, it would have maybe come up sooner. But hey, it totally works. This is a great scene. Regardless. So.
Yeah. And then we cut to somewhere on Earth where Lucy Weber showed up. Then they found that the probe has crash landed, and they know the parts of it came from Captain Weird's ship. So, and then we go to the next issue is Slam on the cover. I almost thought that the cover for this was actual Paul Gulacy, but it's an homage. It's Ormston doing Paul Gulacy, doing you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and again,
or Gene Day.
Ormston is very good at like homaging all of these different styles throughout.
Yeah, and then I do like the Jeff Lemire one, the Black Hammer comic number 4 with Slam in his blue and white costume, where it's very much more Captain America.
Yeah, because he even has the little wings on the side of the cowl.
Well, I like on the cover he's battling in the grips of Cthulhu, who we will meet later, and his daughter Cthulhu, which is cool. But he's just a basic Captain America. He gets
he gets 4F, and then he's just kind of sulking after that. This guy comes up, tells him, hey, okay, you can't go into the war. Let's see what you can maybe do around here. Come to my gym. His name is Punch Socklingham. I could not say that name without looking at it.
I know, and I think part of that is to give them very weird like Golden Age names, and he trains, and Slam is all buff and big, and gangsters come and kill, punch, and that's what turns Slam into a superhero. And then we cut to the kitchen. I love that there are scenes in their kitchen.
Yep.
And Walkie is their Talkie is their little manservant, and they're all having their conversations. Barbalian's reading War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Oh, I do love how Talkie-Walkie, even though he is a robot who has no sense of taste, he is just their cook.
Yeah, and he doesn't like it. He's tired of doing all the housework. He constantly bitching about it. It's not my week for the laundry. It's bad enough I have to cook for this woman tonight. And they all don't want her coming. They don't want Maggie to come because they don't want to have to. He doesn't want to go hide in the barn.
No.
Later on, he's like, I'm tired of having to go hide in the barn.
And then, of course, Colonel Weird shows up, and it's like, which he's the biggest liability of them, just because.
Yeah, he's floating.
He's floats in and out, and let's see. May, you're worried about May? Mm-hmm. I assure you, I can play my part. I'll be your son, Randy, just like always. Just flat. He again, strung out from God knows what.
Yeah. And I like the 2 pages of Gail. She's looking for her T-shirt. She's looking for what to wear to dinner, and she finds her costume in a box, and she starts to cry, and she's just, she's upset. She's she's not camp. They get everything ready. Well, Slam's looking at himself in the mirror. He's gotten older. He keeps thinking about his age. You see him at different times. In his, on the street, on the rooftop, and then at the farm. What I like is Colonel Weird goes to the bathroom and comes back all clean shaven. And Gail comes back gothed out at 9.
Yeah, so what I do really like here is when we see Colonel Weird in the bathroom, he gets the straight razor, and, it would not be a shock if, like, this was him committing suicide, but as you said, he was actually able to get it together, which turns into a very good thing after Gail, gothed out, is just being an absolute shit throughout this whole dinner.
And Maggie's just taking it in stride and not letting it upset her, and just trying to being understanding.
Let's see. Uncle Mark studied to be a priest, but he got kicked out of the church on account of drinking and having an affair with a nun. Right, Uncle Mark? Let's see. But Grandpa, Uncle Mark shouldn't be ashamed. He's almost sober again. God, I've been in. Everyone's had some family conversations with this, and it's like you just kind of want to strangle.
Oh my God. Yeah, and then we get this great. She's terrible, and when Abe puts his head down, we get the biggest flashback in action we've seen, which is 3 pages of him battling Cthulhu, and Black Hammer coming to recruit him for the big event, or Black Hammer helps him because Abe doesn't have any superpowers.
Yep. All he's got is a ray gun they picked up somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, and I like that we know this is 1979, so it's there's some years to go. It was not because he's old then. Because Black Hammer's telling him, he's old then. And then Colonel Weird shows up in his real uniform with his haircut and acts perfectly normal.
Yep. Which shocks Gail so much that even she kind of straightens out, keeps up the charade of calling him dad and all of this, and just kind of getting through the rest of the dinner without too many problems.
Yeah. Maggie's actually sweet about it. It doesn't matter. She was like, next time I'm sleeping over. And, it's good. Sheriff's spying on her, and Madam Dragonfly is spying on him. And then we cut to
the page. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let you go.
All right. So we cut to Spiral City. There's an observatory, and then there is a Dr. Jimmy Robinson, named after James Robinson. I wonder why. There's a beautiful panel of Dr. Robinson's superhero costume. In my version, he is Dr. Starr. Because I've got the first printing of the trade, signed and autographed. The autograph Jeff Lemire gave me was his signature and then a sketch of Colonel Weird. But this is before they had to change it to. In yours, it says Dr. Andromeda.
It says Dr. Andromeda.
Yep. So there's a little thing. There's a. Is it in here? There's something where Lemire talks about it. There was some conversations because we were too close to something, and then we properly compromised with a slight costume change and a name change. So
because he even looks like James Robinson too.
Yeah, that wasn't the problem. The problem was more
the costume.
Well, it was mostly Jack. Yeah, it was mostly because it was so close to Jack. It was so close to Starman. And it's still, I've got my copy of Dr. Star trade because I got the first printing trade of that signed by him. And I went up to him and I said, hey, I want you to sign this one because I see something happened. And he signs it, yes, something happened. So I like that because I will be covering the Dr. Andromeda miniseries on the Starman podcast because I think it is Starman Tangent. But it's great. I love that costume. It looks like a mix of, I don't know. It looks like, I think it's a really, that's one of my favorite miniseries of all of this. This one and the Sherlock Frankenstein one.
Oh, Sherlock Frankenstein gets his own. Okay.
Oh yeah. It's really good. It's really good. Oh, you haven't gotten to it. There's something about Sherlock Frankenstein. I can't wait till you get to that part. You find out he has something to play. He plays a little more bigger in the background of this stuff. But they find where the satellite came from. There's a doorway to where. So we'll find out. But Lucy goes to his observatory. I love this art. I love Ormston's art more and more every time I look at this stuff. This is, I felt like when I first read it, it was a little rough and a little like Lemire's, where Lemire's is, it's not rough in a bad way, but it's not realistic. It's
sketchy in a sketchy with a purpose.
Yeah. So I like this a lot. I think it works really well. What did you think of this issue?
Again, just it's hard to keep I love because again, perfectly paced. Like everyone. You understand why they're all acting the way they are. It never feels like the drama is forced. Like when Gail's acting out at the dinner and just, again, being all that little shit, you understand why. And just it's just so good. I can't think of new ways to say it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It's more like it's structured more like an episode of West Wing or LA, you know what I mean? Because it's mostly, you said Sopranos. Because it's mostly conversations about things and everything. All the superhero stuff is in flashback or memory.
Yep.
That they're thinking about it, and we get to see their memory in traditional comic book format.
Right, and this was something I was actually trying to pay attention. Is I think there's a little when they're in the I don't know, call it the real world, there's a lot more variation on the panel structure, but when they're flashing back, it's much more 4 panels and all that. I don't know if that holds, but
I think it does because I wanted to bring that up because the beginning of the next one, which is the Colonel Weird one, the Ormston thing is him falling up. You'll understand it. It's like the X-ray of a person, and him and a young Colonel Weird flying, where the Lemire one, which says after, it says in the little bottom on the moon, it says after Infantino, and it shows, Colonel Weird as a young man in a more traditional space background, and old haggard Colonel Weird in the trippy dippy kind of Steve Ditko thing. And the first 5 pages of this is him recounting a memory, and it looks more like an old EC comic.
Yep.
Just the colors are muted. There's like a haze to them. They're muted.
Oh, just real quick, I do want to say for the After Carmine, I'm pretty sure it's Mystery in Space number 82, which is Adam Strange where it's split down the middle. There's a nuclear cloud on one side, and then Rand getting burned by a giant magnifying glass on the other. So I think that's the one
Oh, okay.
specifically.
All right. I didn't know. I knew I'd seen one like that. I just couldn't think of which one it was. I'm not that big an Adam Strange guy.
So, I am. So I'm like, I'm 99% this is the one.
I need to read more of that stuff. But I like it, and I like all the space here because I like these cosmic heroes, and the whole thing is he's seeing Lucy, he's seeing all this stuff, but he doesn't know what to do because I think even though I've read all the way through, I haven't read the end, and I haven't read the last Colonel Weird mini.
Okay.
So those are the only two things I haven't read, but I still think that we really don't know 100% or at least I don't, what's going on with Colonel Weird. And we're not going to know for much more than we know now here. And I really like this. It's because this one is just him talking with himself.
Yep. With him and Talkie-Walkie in the flashback scene, and you get the Five Fingers where it's really going a little 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
Mixed with Steve Ditko.
Yeah, it is. And he looks terrified. There's a pen on the last page of that sequence before we get to Mark Barbalian going to see the priest at his home, where they're just kind of having. It reads. It's Mark's interest in him, and you think the priest is interested back.
Right.
But you're not. We're not going to see what happens, but the Colonel Weird is around.
Yeah. Because he can't control when he floats back in and out, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell. I think he can and he can't.
Okay.
I think it's because his brain is fried. He doesn't know what he's doing half the time. And I think time is moving incorrectly for him.
Yep.
So he is, wherever it is, what does he call it? The
Parazone?
Parazone is, because we see him go to the Parazone for the first time, and he meets his old self in there, and he's stuck in there for a while. And so he's watching stuff from, the present Colonel Weird is there when the past Colonel Weird gets there, but he's also watching all the things that have happened to him. Like he disappears and he has a girlfriend who works at like Mission Control, and then he comes back as an old man, but it's only been 9 years for her. And then he disappears again, and then he shows up in Gail's room in the present. I think he's moving throughout time, and this is a really weird thing. And he sees this thing where he brings his there has to
where his girlfriend into the Parazone, but she gets
taken apart.
Like layer by layer, because you see just her skin, which that is surprising. Like that was probably the moment where I'm like, oh wow, was this rated like mature audiences? Yeah. Because you see that, then you get the brain, the heart, then her intestines, then the musculature, and it's like
and he's seeing it backwards, because then we see him go, well, I'll take you with me, and as they're about to walk into the Parazone, he goes, I just had the strangest sense of deja vu. So he sees things like kind of like a Merlin in a way. He sees past, present, and future all at the same time. And then his final visit is with Abraham, who's drinking a beer on the porch. And Abe thanks him about last night, dinner with Tammy. Yes, that was last night. Sometimes my mind wanders, as it does at times. And I like this last two word balloons. One is Abe. Just look at this place. Isn't so bad, is it, Colonel? I mean, in the grand theme of things, no, Abraham, not in the grand scheme of things. But we don't know what we're about to find out what the grand scheme are the next issue.
Yeah.
I like this one. It was trippy dippy. It was very different than it was. I find Colonel Weird the weirdest character in this whole series. I do love him though.
I do too, but I'm just as an Adam Strange fan, like I'm glad that he got like an analog, because usually if he gets one, he's in the background of a background in like not in Astro City, but in any other series. So he has the starring role, and they have him beat David Bowman, just seeing shit that human mind should not comprehend.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, that it causes effect. So the last issue of the series, issue 6, is the Madame Dragonfly one. Ormston does a great. Another again, I think he is highly influenced by Paul Gulacy, because it's got a Gulacy feel to it. And then it's just a standard hardcover with the Lemire one with her floating. I like the horror font for Black Hammer on that a lot.
Yeah, I would love like prints of like any of these alternate covers.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then she launches into. Ross, can I do the opening monologue here?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. I better you than me, because I like that it has the monologue of a horror comic. So.
Yeah. Hello, dear reader. I see that you've come back for more. It seems your thirst for my dark tales and secrets of the night is unquenchable. Who am I to judge? Welcome then. Welcome back, lost souls and dark travelers. But I warn you, what you are about to experience is no ordinary nightmare. No, this is a different kind of story. You see, this is a story of your beloved host herself, and of that vile abode of fear and revulsion I call home. It's not too late to stop. Simply close this magazine, seal it in plastic, and never open it again. No? Still here? Very well. There is no turning back now. Welcome, then. Welcome to the Cabin of Horrors.
I love that page. I'd forgotten all about this when I reread it, and it's a beautiful page, man. He's just the way his art styles just slightly changed, whether it's Dave Stewart's colors, not colors, but because then we get Madame Dragonfly's origin, and it's like it's a stormy night. The mother with a baby in her arms goes to this cabin in the woods and finds this witch, very old, who has butterflies, who can, bring the baby back. The problem is it's going to cost Madame Dragonfly something. The old witch and the baby disappear, and she is trapped in the cabin, now the guardian of the Cabin of Horrors. What did you think of this origin?
Oh my God, do I love... As much as I love Colonel Weird and Barbalian, this is my favorite origin, because this...
It is mine too. This reading made it my favorite, because I just went, wow, because that's why she's all,
Yeah, because these 3 pages alone would be one of the best House of Secrets, House of Mystery stories of all time.
Yeah.
And it builds to, let's breathe and get there, because after the origin, she's just sitting out on her house, which somehow came with her, because, look, the House of Horrors, Cabin of Horrors, it just exists in another reality itself, and she's just watching Abe.
Well, that'll come into play as how is her house there comes to play in the next arc, doesn't it?
Oh,
I think that's where we get.
I'm gonna have to read this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read. I pulled them out because I wanted to read it too. So they have a conversation about they're just talking about everything that's going on. And Madame Dragonfly is really detached. Like, you all look at both of us as if we're damaged goods prize, talking about Colonel Weird. And I like what Abraham says. Actually, the Colonel showed up for dinner the other night, and he was quite helpful. And Dragonfly, don't try to act as if I should feel sorry for you if you're a pariah. It's because you've left yourself be one. You choose to live out here all alone. You choose not to visit the house anymore. The cabin needs me, Abraham, more and more. It needs me. And because there's something about the cabin tied to what's going on with all of them. And then the final Barb, Alien, and Gale conversation, where she's kind of telling him we could be together. She just wants to lash on. She wants She wants a romantic partner, and because he's an alien and she's a child, she's thinking maybe that'll work. But he's got secrets, and he tries to let her down gently, and he brings up the child thing, and she gets pissed, and she's like, "That's just it. I'm not. I know it's not. But just that. Even if you were." She's like, "Don't patronize me." She flies off. He's crying, and then she's floating above the house crying, and Madam Dragonfly is watching all of this. So we catch another thing where we go a flashback where some two guys come to trying to threaten her at the cabin, and one of them comes in and the door's open and zombies come out and eat him, and the other one pulls a shotgun on her and she zaps him with fire, a green spell, and then he comes out, and it's a great Swamp Thing, Man-Thing analog.
Yeah, and I feel so stupid because as Swamp Thing, I would say is number 3 of my DC characters, and I missed the first time I read this that the two guys' names were Len and Bernie after reading and writes, and I'm like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, it's great. And this she would be alone no more. So because this guy comes out,
like I said, a great riff on that design.
Yeah, and then we get she's watching Abe and Tammy have a little fight in the diner. And then we cut to her flashback that the man that died, who became the swamp creature, became her lover, and they were happy, but she knew that the anti-god was coming. And then we get a 4-panel flashback or 3-panel flashback of her. I'm going to read this because you see the anti-god. You see it. It's giant. It's smashing the city. All the heroes are fighting. She's off. She's not with them. She's a little bit separated from them. And she goes, but that would be the last time she saw her monster. For the battle she foresaw raged across the cosmos and across the planet. And though she was no hero, she fought valiantly at the same time. In Spiral City we made our last stand. The fate of mankind rested on us, and we destroyed the evil known as Antigod, or so we thought. There was a flash of light, and then we were somewhere else. But her burden would not be cast aside so easily. The cabin came with her. She ran to it, hoping to find her monster, but he had not traveled to the strange place, only the cabin. But this sober tale is not the end. What happened? And it's just like, it seems part of her mother had made the journey with her to spend taking root. The old witch was right. Time would bring a child back into her arms, but what happened to the child? We don't know, except it's buried. So I'm assuming that's her dead baby. It's really weird what's going on because she's not. That's not the child she's talking about. She's grieving a child still.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is the storm is something's happening, and she's crying, and then we cut to Colonel Weird's above her, and she's Colonel Weird, Dragonfly. This storm, is this you're doing? No, Colonel, it's not me. I have nothing. I don't know what's happening. There's what's happening, and there's a crack of lightning, and then someone appears, and it's Lucy in a spacesuit, and she goes, I know what this place is, and she's like, shh, let me help. What's your name? She's Lucy Weber. She's I've traveled far. I know what you are. I know what you've done. And she's like, shh, now it's all going to be all right. Forget. And she makes her forget. And then all the other heroes show up. And when Gail goes, who is it? She goes, she says her name is Lucy Weber. The Black Hammer's daughter? Was just a girl when we left. Easy, Abe. She seems pretty shook up. And she's like, what's going on? Where am I? It's all right, Lucy. You're home. So now we have another prisoner. And that's a cliffhanger.
That's a good cliffhanger.
Because we've got nothing from Lucy other than she's the ace reporter.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking for her dad, and we're going to see this more in the next volume because Lucy becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger, part of this because you'll find out later. But I really like this whole series. I like that issue. I like it all, and I think a lot of it is just that it is about the interpersonal relationships of these characters. There's very little action.
Right, because if you want action, there's plenty of DC and Marvel series where you can read that and get that. If you want actual character, go to this book.
That's it. I agree. I think it holds up. I think it's one of the great. I put it up there with Astro City. I put it up with um, any of the independent created universes. Hellboy. This is my Hellboy thing because this is my weird universe.
Yeah, I would say I might get shit for this. I like this universe, even though I've only read this one omnibus. I like it better than the Invincible universe at points.
Oh, I do too. I like my Invincible love is the love of that joy of me is like an 8-year-old because it's that comic he's writing.
Yeah.
So I get that out of it, that nostalgia. This I get because it's what I want from. I want great characters like when I mean, and I'm. This is where you get characters in comics is these conversations. If you don't have them speak about what's going on between them, you do not create real relationships that have texture and layers, which comes from comes from their verbal interaction. I think sometimes you're missing it, and I think this one, and maybe 10% of the mystery has been given. I mean, very little of it. So, I think this is great. And I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm actually a little surprised that your volume ends with issue 6 because I thought issue 7, where we get the Black Hammer origin, would have been included. I just kind of find that interesting.
No, because I think Secret Origin, which is the first arc's title, refers to the origin of this series, how they got there, where the event is why they're there, because the event is the battle. So I think in the second volume we learn more about who the original Black Hammer is, why he chose them, what happened, and why these people are trapped here. So this is Act 1, which is just the secret origin of the universe, basically, or how our entry into the universe is coming from after a big event, and then we have to kind of work our way into the universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make perfect sense.
Because in later volumes and later spin-offs, you're in that universe.
Okay.
You're either in the past or the future. There's an X-Men Teen Titans one, the Unbelievable Unteens. You've got the Quantum Age, which is the Legion.
Okay, I have heard of that one because of Legion Connection. Yep.
Yeah, that's a very and you also have the War one and the main things, because the main events are for phase 1, because this coming in phases, is Secret Origins Giant Size Annual, which is in the second trade annual omnibus, the event. Then there's the Age of Doom. There's a one shot. Instead of Cthulhu, it's Cthulhuese. There is Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, Dr. Andromeda and the Kingdom of the Lost, Tomorrow's, Quantum Age, Black Hammer 45, that's a war comic, and then Black Hammer Justice League Justified, which is a good crossover.
Okay, I'll be curious if they collect that in one of the omnibuses.
I think it isn't. I'm not sure, maybe not. It should be in the Worlds of. So if they get the permission, because that's where all the minis are going, in the Worlds of Omnis.
Okay, so I'll need to get. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, sounds good. I just need to look at mapping.
yeah. So, because I'm looking at their pages, like the left-hand column is the stuff that is these guys, the stuff that is connected, and the other column is the miniseries. So phase 2 consists of Black Hammer Visions, Black Hammer Reborn, The Last Days of Black Hammer, and Black Hammer The End, which just ended. Then the miniseries is Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy, which I really, really liked. It's their Batman analog. Colonel Weird, Cosmogog, Barb Alien, The Red Planet, The Unbelievable Unteens, and Colonel Weird and Little Andromeda. So, and then there's a new one starting next year. So, a new wave. I really like this. I've met Lemire twice. He's come to GalaxyCon. I'm not sure if he's at Baltimore. If he is, I might get him to sign another one of these trades, or get one from him, get one of the Omnis, because I have some of the stuff in issue still. I keep going back. I want to get them all in trades, but some of the stuff is still only in the hardcover trades, which I like. The Dark Horse hardcover. It's kind of like it's kind of like a British annual hardcover. No dust jacket, square bound.
Yeah.
Like that. I got the Geiger Deluxe oversizes like that.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, which is not really. Yeah. They are doing a Junkyard Joe one, and I will get it.
Ooh, I might get that one because that was my favorite.
Yeah, it has been so good. But I love this series. So I got you in. So you've only read the first Omni. Have you bought the second Omni yet?
The second one's on my desk, it's on my desk, just waiting for me to finish the Impulse read through that I'm almost done. Then I'll get to that.
Yeah, watching you post that stuff is like they need to put that out in a compendium, because I got the Robin compendium. If you haven't seen that thing, it should win an award for its cover graphics. It's one of the nicest covers I've seen on anything in a long, long time. It's absolutely beautiful. It's kind of like this red and yellow striped spot. It's very 60s or 80s. Yeah, I don't know. Just you Google it, folks. It's gorgeous. But DC has made some announcements the last couple of weeks where they're pumping stuff out. But
it's like, you guys realize I have I only have so much money, right?
That's why I like they're putting some of the stuff that the event, like that heavy metal, whatever, with a dark, whatever, that Dark Universe, that came out in Omni. It's like, I read it and I would like to reread it. I'd like that, but I don't want the Omni. I don't want to pay $150 for it. But so It's coming now out in a compendium.
Okay.
They're doing that. Grant Morrison is a compendium. Anna Bland is a compendium. They're going to do the Philip Johnson Superman as an Omni, but they're doing something else as a compendium. They did the War World stuff as a compendium, but they're mixing it up. Nightwing's getting the Tom Taylor Ronaldo is coming out in Omni. I will buy that probably.
Okay.
Because it's gotten such rave reviews, and what I've read has been really good. But they're doing a second Nightwing Dixon McDaniel one of Nightwing compendium. Right. So they got a nice mix, and there's DC Finest. There are 2 or 3 DC Finest I'm going to buy.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pick up 1 or 2 of those, even if I'm double dipping in terms of stuff. But
yeah, there's a lot I'm not going to get because I'm not going to double dip. Like the First Justice Society one is. I want to see how fat that is, because it's like 7 issues. It's like an archive and a half.
Okay.
And it's 3. It's like 3 through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 5 All-Star issues.
Yeah. And I know if they're I don't know if they've said or not, if they're collecting everything or if they're going to do like skip I think there was like just straight prose in those.
I don't know with that. I don't know, because I know in the archives I've got everything. It's got letter page. It's got everything. It doesn't have the ads, but it's got everything else.
I did see that they were going to be doing like the original like Jack Cole Plastic Man, and I'm very curious to check those out.
Have you ever seen that stuff? I used to have an Omni. There's Omnis. I mean, not Omnis archives. It's freaking. It's Eisner level. 40s art. It's masterpiece level stuff. Yeah, that's that kind of stuff. Maybe the Wonder Woman stuff. I'm gonna get what I haven't, because there's so many options of stuff, and I'm building this library. Because the Triangle Superman comes out in a couple weeks. But let's get. But Black Hammer, I would like to. That was because I was like, I like my trades. I like the ones I have autographed, but I would like to get these in either the library edition or the omnibus editions, just to have, because I think they look nice. I just think they'd be nicer. My volume 1 is pretty beat up. I've read this 4 or 5 times.
This omnibus, by the way, I think it's got a cover price of $30, so that in and of itself is not too bad. If you can find it like on InStock or Amazon, cheap graphic novels, it's an even better deal.
And I think they've got all of this. I think all that's been omnibused, and now they just got to catch up with the Worlds of stuff, which is, I like how they separate it. There's some of that stuff you're going to really like. I think you're going to love Quantum Age. You're definitely going to love Dr. Andromeda and the Kingdom of the Lost. That's just so good. Oh, so good. but it's so I kind of moved this up. Me and Kirby had talked about doing it a bunch, but I moved it up because of the Jeff Lemire doing Justice Society. It was like, yeah, I want to see what you do with it.
Yeah.
And I like his straight superhero stuff. I've got in hardcovers. I got him on eBay. All of his Justice League United. He did.
Yep.
Which is
that's a good series.
Is it good?
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't think it's that long though. It might be only like 16.
It's
There's
like 3 hardcovers. It's only like 3.
Okay, yeah. So like, I know the A version of like the Retro Legion shows up in it at some point. So that's good. I wrote down a list of stuff. Jeff Lemire, whenever I see him, I am usually on board. And again, I don't remember if we were recording yet or not, but I've not read a lot of like Sweet Tooth or some of his other independent work, and I really do need to.
Sweet Tooth is awesome, both, and there's a sequel, Sweet Tooth: The Return, which is a neat little thing. I have Royal City Volume 1. I haven't read it yet. I have The Frogcatcher in hardcover. I haven't read it, but that's kind of the things I'm going to jump to when I say, like, I need a superhero break. I think I'm going to do Royal City. Because I've also got Paper Girl, and I've got Darwin Brubaker and Darwin Cook's Parker complete.
Ooh.
Yeah, that it's not bound real well, but it's
sure.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff, and it's all of it in one volume. But yeah, I can't wait. We'll probably have to schedule Black Hammer again right before his Justice League comes out in a couple months. If that doesn't get delayed because of John's is being delayed again.
Ugh.
I don't know what. There cannot be a reason. Except issue 12 was finished by Todd Nyuk because Janin couldn't finish it.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's fine by me because I
like Todd Nyuk. Yeah, Todd.
I think the best series that came out of the new Golden Age was The Stargirl and Lost Children.
It was.
I mean, I like the Flash. I liked Boom. I liked the Jay Garrick Flash. I love the Sandman. I want to give the Alan Scott a read as one thing to see how it. I like I understand what they're going for. I just don't think. It doesn't land so with it. It's just okay. I don't think it's bad.
The pacing of it kind of killed it for me, but yeah.
That was kind of my problem with it. Was the speed, the way it was just laid out. So I kind of want to read it as one thing. And it'll come out in a trade. They've solicited the second hardcover that has Justice Society's 7 through 12, which is cool because that's how I have the first 12, and then I'm going to buy those comic book cover frames, and I'm going to have all the Tim Harris covers, which are awesome. I'm looking forward to his Justice Society. I'm looking for more Black Hammer. I've got to catch up. I haven't read the last couple minis or the end because I got behind in Visions, which is a lot of universe building, which is kind of fun because it's an anthology. I think it's one of his longer series. So we're getting to the end. What are you reading, or what would you recommend this time, Kirby?
Okay, so like I said, I'm got about 15 issues left of the Impulse series from the 90s into the early aughts. I ran 89 issues plus 2 annuals, a million, and then a couple of DC of like Impulse Plus. This has just been a really good series where it's so slice of life. I like the fact we have a series where they care about secret identity, maintaining that secret identity, and giving stuff for the non-superhero supporting cast to do. And it's just so delightful just to kind of read that nice slice of life comic. It's aged very well. The main writers have been Mark Waid, Mesner Loebs, and then Todd DeZago, and they've all have kept a very consistent style and tone to the book. There's no huge jarring, jump from one writer to the next. If they do after the Robin, do an Impulse compendium.
That would be nice because that's the one they're doing that era in the 90s that I like, where I think DC was firing on all cylinders on these secondary characters. It's why it really bugs me that we have secondary character books for Batman, we have secondary character books for Spider-Man, we have secondary character books for Superman, but we don't have other ones. But I've gotten the Robin, I've gotten the Nightwing. I want the Superboy.
Yep.
I want the Superboy Kubrick stuff. I meant Kubrick, Gummick. Um, oh my God, what's his name?
God, this is gonna kill me. I was gonna say Northrop Grumman. That's a whole different thing. Grumman.
Grumman. I'm blanking on his first name, Grumman. But
Yep.
I never read a lot of the Impulse.
Yeah.
So I want to read the Impulse because
it's very good.
Because I love Young Justice, and I bought that Omni the second it came out. It was like, I've got to reread it, and I thought I had jumped into it late, and I realized, no, dude, you only missed like 3 issues. You read it freaking beginning to end, because it became my Teen Titans, because Teen Titans wasn't Teen Titans anymore, hadn't been for a long time. So yeah, that's a good one. I would love for them to put that Impulse out. I am reading. I just finished volume 1 of Colin Bunn. Let me pull this off the shelf. Colin Bunn's Sixth Gun, but I also want to give the other people credit, that the artist, Brian Hurt, Hurtt, and Bill Crabtree. I cannot sing the praises of this book more and more. It is an adventure horror western. The characters are meticulously built. You all have them. It has the first 17 issues of the series, which tells the first arc, and then it has a history of some of the characters that are in that, and it's all about these magical 6 guns that can only have one owner at a time, and what are they for? To destroy the world or rebuild it. And it's set after the war, and there's beautiful world building, there's magic, it's just fires on all cylinders. And it's a western where you see people that are of different races and different faiths, and different levels of ed. It's really wonderful world building. And I cannot. I saw a review of it, and I'll buy all 3 Omnis and a little side collection of compendium stuff, and hope I like it. And I read it straight through in like 4 days.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good. I can't recommend it as much. I do want to. I got recently, and I'm going to start reading it, is Superman by Kurt Busiek. It's pretty complete before it does his action. Was it action run or his Superman run that leads into his stuff with Pacheco? They're doing a couple of them, but it gives his first couple that were just like a World's Finest and something else. Like he does a World's Finest with George Tuska, and they're nice and fat. They're the size of that Superman, the 4 Superman Man of Steel's, maybe a little thicker. And they're doing it for just. He doesn't. I don't think his run is long enough. It would be an Omni and a half. I think they're just. I think DC is trying out all the formats at once because they're diving in. And I like they're doing a lot of those little $9.95 pocket paperback versions.
I want to pick one or two of those up just to kind of see.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff that's come out as I've got. I don't really need to replace it, but they're selling like hotcakes everywhere.
That's good. That's very good.
It's not $10. It's something, if that gets someone into the store to buy it and then they go to buy something else, I think it's a gateway. I think DC is, and other companies are going to latch onto it. I think it's a great idea. I want to check some out. I've got some of those Marvel like for the early Cap, I got the little mini Masterworks, because some of that stuff wasn't going to be, I'm not going to jump back and reread it, so I would like the source, cheaper.
Yeah.
But I'm still reading my Cap read through, and I'm up to Gene Colan, and it's getting better, and it's a little less kitschy from time to time. But yeah, I recommend the Sixth Gun. It's really, really good. It's just amazing. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to, after me and Kirby say goodbye, I'm going to probably talk to him about our next 4 for 4, because we haven't done one in a few months. All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening. As always, be safe, be smart, be kind. Please be nice to one another. It's really a mixed up, crazy world. And read some comic books. Read some Jeff Lemire.
See you, everybody.
All right.